Alright guys, so in this episode of Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff World, I stumbled across a video that is a debate between detransitioners and trans people. Okay, and they're going to debate the topic of whether or not gender-related treatment, okay, aka sex change operations and hormones should be banned for minors. And I'm going to say this from the beginning of this video here, that this video is very, very, very sad, okay? And the reason why it's sad is because these detransitioners are obviously still, I guess, experiencing some of the effects of their transition, right? The permanent changes that have been made to their bodies from taking these hormones or undergoing these operations, and it's just really sad, okay? It really is sad. And I think that that's probably the strongest argument against having kids transition is the fact that this is permanent, right? That some of these changes are permanent. And that is true no matter how much, the pro-trans people want to deny reality, which, I mean, hey, that's their whole stick is denying reality. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it.
So there is such thing as gender fluid. How do you know that this kid is not going to change their gender expression later on? We really actually don't have studies on children that are taken over long term, like over 10 years, 20 years. You've only been on testosterone 14 years. One of the oldest trans men, Buck Angel, he almost died from testosterone. You're saying right now it saved your life. You may still die from it. You don't know. You're still happy.
Exactly.
You'll die for ideology, and a lot of people have died for an ideology.
It's not an ideology.
But we have more
It's
people
who
that are
I am.
dying because
It's an
they're not
idea that you were
allowed
born
to
in the wrong
express
body.
themselves.
Well, I mean, at this point, it's more than an ideology. It's a religion, right? It's a religion. But I want you guys to notice. I want you guys to know, this is why I say it's sad. This person right here as detransition. I don't know what, like, I'm not sure exactly what this person is, okay? I'm assuming that, I don't know, right? I mean, if you're detransitioning and you look like a woman, I'm assuming you're a woman. But then again, I don't know from the voice or whatever. I'm not sure if you can be a man. And this is why I said that, to me, it's just sad, man. It's just sad. I mean, even when you detransition, it feels like there's still some problems going on here. And, obviously this person is taking some drugs, some hormones or whatever, done some things to create some permanent changes that they can't really, take back, or so it seems. I'm not sure. But again, it's, wow.
That are dying because
an
they're not
idea that you were
allowed
born
to
in the wrong
express
body.
themselves. Look at the suicide rate of transmasculine folks is at 55%. And one of the factors that could save their lives is support. Right? And so if we have folks that are committing suicide because they're not allowed to transition, how do we fix that? If
you get them the mental health treatment that they need, right? You don't transition them. You don't cut off their genitals. You get them mental health treatment. I'm all for that, right? I'm all for mental health services for people who may actually be experiencing gender dysphoria, right? For children. I'll do anything, right? I'll do anything not to have them go through that, okay? That's what you do. But what you don't do, again, is you don't push them to, put hormones in their bodies and cut off their genitals.
telling me the transition for
thing,
children or minors is something that shouldn't be done.
I am very sensitive to this subject, as I've been the person who has had to talk people off the ledge when it comes to suicidality.
See, like her voice, right? Detransition. So I'm assuming this is a actual her, a female. Her voice is still deep, right? She still sounds like a man. Again, sad, right? Super sad. I mean, still has some masculine facial features. Again, this stuff is permanent, man. There's some permanent changes that come from taking these hormones and stuff, man. It's messed up. It really is.
The discussion around how we talk about suicide is a very dangerous one in this community. My parents were told, do you want a dead daughter or a living son? That's not an appropriate way to talk about that.
And I understand that, but it is our transmasculine youth
I understand
that
that
are at the highest risk
I
of
understand that,
suicide.
and they deserve help. But we also need to have a responsible conversation that is not using suicide as a means to push them down a pipeline before they have that comprehensive care.
So I have a question.
So, Aris, I know you've been wanting to say something.
No, because I have a big problem.
All right, let me comment on the suicide thing first. Yeah, the way they use that is screwed up, right? It's screwed up. It's immoral for you to try to bully people into accepting your woke religion by saying that, well, if you don't accept our worldview, then kids are going to die, right? They're going to delete themselves. Which, again, there's no evidence that allowing them to transition is going to prevent them from deleting themselves. But, yeah, this is what they do. This is how they guilt people and parents into allowing their kids to transition. That's why some of these parents, a lot of them are cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs that allow their kids to do this. But some of them, I can't really blame them because they're being told that, hey, if you don't do this, if you don't allow your kid to transition, then you're going to be responsible if the child deletes itself, right? So again, some parents are being guilt tripped into going along with this, which is messed up.
Oh yeah, no, so I'm not an interrupter. What I'm going to say is we insult children or youth so much by taking away their autonomy and their own agency over their own decisions and insulting that they know who they are. Like an adult knows who they are more than they do. No one knows who I am more than I do. Right. And it's always been that way. I've always known who I was. I've never felt like I was in the wrong body. I just had to adjust my body. And so I think taking away kids' agency and the right to their own body is it's anti-human.
I have a question. Do you believe minors should be able to get tattoos or plastic surgery or consent to the list of other? I understand they are different things, but to what level to what level do we give children bodily autonomy over everything they do? Because here's the thing, children need barriers in childhood development. You need barriers, and they need a safe way to push against those barriers. And I worry with the current medical system that instead of giving them a safe way to express themselves and push against barriers, we have taken some of those barriers away. And that is why you see more detransitioners, because those barriers have been lifted.
Yeah, they're not just doling out surgeries for children. That's not happening
I had a letter from a therapist in a single visit at the gender clinic office.
And that was abuse from that therapist who did not psychoanalyze the rest of your issues.
Right, and that shouldn't.
Because your issues weren't being trans. There were a lot of other issues that you're addressing right now. I have a diagnosis
of gender dysphoria as
and
well.
You shouldn't. You were misdiagnosed.
No, I have one.
Yeah, you had to get a second opinion, honey.
Right.
And how was I supposed to do that when my parents were told that I would kill myself?
But your parents,
their biggest crime in all this was trusting a medical system that they thought would help me, and the professionals apparently not doing the right thing here.
I understand, but your parents were responsible for the decisions that were made on your behalf.
Mm-hmm. I think that what this really highlights is the importance of you sharing your story, because what it shows is that you can't jump into these transitions, and you shouldn't listen to these doctors that push you to transition just because you're feeling a certain way.
Social media.
I mean, is that not what we've been arguing this whole time, right? Is that not what we've been arguing? Is that, hey, you shouldn't be pushing this stuff. You shouldn't be guilt tripped into transitioning, okay, your kid or whatever, right? Again, it's funny how they're trying to blame the parents. Well, your parents are responsible. Your parents are responsible. It's like, well, yeah, but again, they're being told lies by you guys that if you don't transition people or you don't transition your kid, then you're going to be responsible for them deleting themselves. So again, what is a parent supposed to do in that situation who doesn't want to lose their kid? They're going to go along with the medicine, right, the science, okay, the woke religion, the woke ideology, and they're going to transition their kid. Again, I just find that to be interesting, fascinating. Let's actually watch a little bit about the social media and if they believe it's brainwashing kids to believe they're trans.
Media brainwashes teens to believe that they're trans.
I have to agree on that one. Like, there's this thing about it.
Right.
Like, yeah, there's this play that they have.
I don't think that it necessarily brainwashes children, but I think there are a lot of people who get into being queer or trans because it's trendy. And I know that's a really controversial statement to make as a trans person, but I have seen it, I have experienced it, and I also find that social media, especially apps like TikTok, give a lot of these kids so much misinformation and lead to people thinking they're trans when there are much deeper issues, and everyone just wants to belong and find an identity, especially when they're young.
I think brainwash is such a strong word
that's a very
to
aggressive
use
word.
there.
That's why I hesitated to step forward.
And that's why I would step in and
well, I mean, it is brainwashing, right? It's a strong word, but that's the truth. It's brainwashing. Again, we do not have nearly as many kids that are identifying as LGBTQ or trans, before, 10 years ago as we have now. Okay, it has grown at an exponential rate, which suggests that, again, it's not natural. It is something that is being pushed, okay? Kids are being influenced by social media. They're being influenced by what they're seeing in schools. I mean, nowadays, again, you might be the weird kid just to be straight, right? In school, right? The straight kid is the weird kid, okay? The normal kids are the kids that identify with some different gender or the LGBTQ or whatever. Again, this stuff is out of control. Again, kids are being brainwashed. That's exactly what's happening.
Actually say it's more so of like a social contagion.
It's just, yeah.
What got me to transition in the first place was social media. It had a grasp on me that there could be something else out in the world for me during that discovery. And I played it to the fullest 100%. I even passed as a female for a good, 6 years out of the 7 that I was transitioned. And later down the road, I went and paid out of pocket and talked to just a regular therapist, and she made me start questioning my own existence in a way, what I can do as a human being, not just as a male or a female, but what can I contribute to the society. And it made me open up to maybe I was born as a male, and it feels empowering to me.
Yeah, I mean, I was heavy on social media. Like in my transition, Tumblr, that was the place to be for sure. And everyone was talking about their transition from my experience, and everyone was talking about a lot of mental health issues, depression, and all of that. And it was kind of being trendy in that sense. Like when TikTok came out, like that was like a whole nother world. And the biggest thing that I found with that is like they weren't saying a lot of the negative things that were happening in their transition. There was always like a positive outlook on it, like I'm being who I need to be, like this is great.
This is the ticket to your happiness.
Yeah, and
how it's sold.
Like so much on social media. Like I made a documentary on my transition, and I really went into depth of like a lot of my depression that I dealt with on that, and I didn't find anyone talking about that.
Jen, I personally didn't think I was trans till I saw earlier trans YouTubers.
Yeah, so again, all these people are admitting that they're brainwashed, right? They're brainwashed. So I mean, hey, social media is probably the biggest culprit here, and this is why I think that we should probably heavily restrict social media for children. Again, that's one of the main reasons why this is happening. So again, I thought it was an interesting conversation. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.